Good morning, everyone. Well, to you two, thank you for being here this morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2018 Oregon Governors Conference on Tourism here in beautiful Bend, Oregon. It is so great to be back together with all of you. Did you have a good time last night? You know, we're not only here gathered here in this room today, and by the way, sold out conference again. You probably heard that there was a waiting list of nearly 100 folks. So we are live streaming the conference this year. We have staff that are actually in a different room that are watching it via live stream because we weren't able to have everybody in this room both last night and this morning. So I'm thrilled with the popularity of this conference, and I take it as a testament to the programming and the great work that's being done by not only the staff team, but all of us in the travel and tourism industry. To me, as this conference has grown, it's just indicative of how the prominence and the stature of the travel and tourism industry in Oregon has grown right along with it. I remember some of my earliest conferences where there might have been 200 people at the conference, you know, and that's 1988. My very first tourism conference was down in Ashland. And here we are today, 30 years later, and we have a conference of nearly 500 folks and a waiting list of 100. You know, again, a testament to the power of the travel and tourism industry. And this conference has grown and expanded. I mean, we're not only live streaming, as I said, but now we're coming in early. We had a number of pre-meetings. We had the Oregon Visitor Information Network training. We had the Oregon Tour and Travel Alliance spring meeting. We had the news and notes session with our RDMOs. We had 6 other industry and partner meetings that were all held over the weekend in advance of the conference. And then we got to kick off our conference last night with our awards gala. And would you all join me in giving one more round of applause to all of our award recipients from last night? And I learned a lot about you guys last night because we went over to Currents and we were all gathered in the bar, and then somebody announced free beer in the Deschutes room, and that place just cleared out, you know? Well played, people. And still a large turnout for the fun run. I love that, fun run. And walked early this morning at 6:30. Bravo. You guys are heroes to me that you're willing to get up and do the fun run and walk. But what a beautiful part of the world to be able to get up and enjoy a morning here in Central Oregon and in Bend. In that spirit, being here in Bend and being here in beautiful Central Oregon, it is my great pleasure right now to introduce to you the mayor of the great city of Bend, who's going to provide us with a local welcome. Would you please welcome to the stage Mayor Rhodes. Mayor, come on up.
Well, on behalf of the residents of Bend and the city of Bend and Visit Bend, if I could be so brazen to do so, welcome to Bend. And I know many of you have been here for several days already. I thought I was going to be late today because we had a wreck on the Parkway, which for those of you from the Portland metro area, I think is like every morning on your way to work. And as I'm driving along, there's an ODOT incident response vehicle, and he's telling people to get over in the right lane. And those of us from Bend, this is kind of it's an event when you actually get stopped on the Parkway. So we we get into line like you're supposed to. And then here I am coming to a visit, a visitor's event, and blowing by me on the left are California license plates just as fast as they can possibly go. And so if you're from California, we're not going to hold that against you necessarily, but we're glad you're here. And as Tom McCall said, it's that way home. And I'm joking for the most part, especially because this is being live streamed and it's an election year. And I need, if not for California votes, you couldn't get elected in Bend to anything. So if it weren't for Californians, we wouldn't have friends at all in Bend anymore. But truly, it is a pleasure to have you here. This is an important industry, to say the very least. And I didn't realize that until I got into public service at the local office. And one of the things that I was surprised to know is how much money tourism brings to our city. If not for tourism, we wouldn't have the police and the fire and the street maintenance we do now. It is oftentimes a surprise for people who, when they come to the city council chambers and they're letting us have it for any number of given issues, sometimes tourism gets scapegoated, unfortunately, and I think wrongly, for being the bane of problems in cities like Bend. And yes, it's true that it has created some parking problems in certain parts of the city. And if any of you did the cycle pub through downtown Bend where you're all pedaling on the same mobile bar, you might have been hooping and hollering late into the night, which bugs a couple of the locals. But the reality is we need this industry deeply, badly. It is important. And I think one of the things I learned this year, a young man was shadowing me who was taking government civics communication course at Oregon State University Cascades. And he had moved to Bend to take a job in the tourism industry, got married, his wife's a teacher, now he's going to school, and they're raising a daughter in Bend. And it is the classic Bend story of a young person coming to Bend for opportunity, having the opportunity to be upwardly mobile in their own career and then into their own education, and then hopefully educating our kids, which is part of the success story, that his current career that he got started in was in fact outdoor recreation. So I am a tremendous supporter of tourism. I'm a tremendous supporter of the opportunity it provides. And just in the same way that I like to go and visit other places, we're happy you're here as well. So without any further ado, I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you very much for having me, and enjoy your time in Bend.
Thank you, Mayor Rhodes. It's really an honor to be here, and we're doubly honored to have you here to welcome us, so thank you for that. You know, I don't need to necessarily remind you of how important our sponsors and exhibitors are to us holding the conference here every year. It's an opportunity, obviously, for them to be able to showcase their contribution to Oregon's travel and tourism industry. It's also a way for us to help keep the conference affordable for all of you as we travel here and come together once a year from across the state. It is now my great honor to introduce our sponsors for this morning's breakfast, Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Joining us here today is their tribal chair, Dolores Pigsley. And I'd like to welcome Dolores to the stage. And as I do, what I'd like to recognize is that Dolores was recently acknowledged with the PSU Center for Public Service Lifetime Achievement Award. Would you please welcome to our stage Dee Pigsley.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me back to talk this year, talk a little bit about our business and our area. And the Lifetime Achievement Award was really, really nice, and I think you get it because you've been around a long time, and they run out of other people. But it was quite an honor, and was also an honor last year at this time. I received a degree from Willamette University, and it was a degree of law. So that was an honorary degree. So that was really cool. So I have been around a long time. I've represented the tribe for almost 40 years, and it's been an exciting ride. We've gone from having absolutely no resources to having something really beautiful on the coast, and we'll be showing the video on what we have to offer people who come to the beach. But in general, tribes have really not been well advertised, especially in the tourism industry. There's 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon, and of the 9, 8 have casinos. And of those 8, I believe 7 actually have really nice facilities, nice hotels. And they're places where everybody wants to go and eat and stay and have a good time. And in 1995, when we began working on our casino on the coast, the Indian gaming industry was at $5.5 billion a year across the nation. And by 2015, it's over $30 billion. So it's a huge industry, and many of the tribes have facilities that are even more beautiful than when you stay in Las Vegas. I was just in Las Vegas and Flagstaff and Albuquerque last week and stayed at a really new, wonderful casino, but it didn't even measure up to what we have to offer in Lincoln City. In addition to the amount of money that's contributed to all of the local economies. In the state of Oregon, it's $1.4 billion that the tribes spend right here in the state of Oregon. And in addition, they donate a lot of money and a lot of time, not only in dollars, but in the use of the facilities. And that's totaled about $7 million. I think Oregon tourism is, we have the greatest place, I think, in the nation to visit. And we talk about the 7 wonders in Oregon. And I would like to see us talk about what tribes can offer. It's a totally different culture than people are used to. And we on the Oregon coast in the summer have a huge powwow. And I know you hear a lot about the Pendleton Roundup, and it is huge, and it's nice. In Siletz, we get about 10,000 visitors on the second weekend in August when we have our powwow. And we've always had sunshine, which is different on the coast. And we welcome visitors, and we're not all just about tribal gaming, but we have a culture, like I said, that provides different kinds of activities for people. And we teach our culture, we encourage kids, and we have people from the community that learn how to come and make baskets, make moccasins, do beadwork, make a lot of necklaces and using shells and some of the local things. So it's always a pleasure to have people come and visit and to be able to share our culture. The things that we do normally are different than going swimming or surfing or walking on the beach, which you can do all of the above on the coast. And we think our facility is one of the best because it's better at the beach. So remember that. Thank you.
Good words, Dee. Thank you very, very much. You know, the stories of our confederated tribes, of our native peoples here in Oregon, are a critical component of the Oregon travel and tourism industry story, and I appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts with us today. When I think about ideals, as Dolores was just challenging us here a little bit this morning, I think it's important to think of ideals like integrity, innovation, collaboration, and humility. These are good words, but they're even better when they're embraced as enduring ideals. In 1998, a visionary Portland native who was devoted to holistic farming established a winery in Oregon's Willamette Valley. He came to wine through his passion for history and philosophy. And after traveling the world and experiencing the hard work of winemaking in Beaujolais, he returned to Oregon, and he found a burgeoning wine world here. He began to devote his life to holistic farming and winemaking in our Willamette Valley. His name was Jimmy. 6 years later, on the eve of their first harvest in 2004, Jimmy passed away unexpectedly. Now, the grapes that Jimmy had purchased and Jimmy had grown could have been sold, and the winery shut down. And Jimmy's sister, Janie, expected to come to Oregon to do exactly that. However, when she arrived at the winery, she found 12 of Jimmy's closest winemaker friends joined together in a great show of camaraderie. And together they hatched a plan. They were going to bring in Jimmy's harvest. And they made together Brooks Winery's 2004 vintage. Since 2004, Chris Williams, who's Jimmy's longtime winemaking accomplice, and his sister Janie, have stayed true to Jimmy's founding principles. And Jimmy's son, Pascal, who was only 8 years old when Jimmy passed away, remains the sole owner of the winery today. Brooks Winery has grown from 2,500 cases to 20,000 cases today. And they recently built a new winery and a new tasting room. And this year, as they celebrate the 20th anniversary of Jimmy's founding of Brooks Winery, they are featuring one wine from those 12 friends each month in their wine tasting room. And they've taken barrel staves from wine barrels from each of those 12 wineries and literally woven them into the wall at Brooks Winery. And it's being done in a way that it will showcase forever the collaboration of those friends, the collaboration of the Oregon wine industry, and the indomitable Oregon spirit. My friends, this same selfless spirit of collaboration, of courageously pursuing something that is bigger than ourselves, of just plain and simply doing the right thing, permeates Oregon's travel and tourism industry. And in the same way as those barrel staves from those 12 friends are forever intertwined at Brooks Winery, every last piece, place, and person in Oregon's travel and tourism industry is similarly woven together into a singular, magical Oregon experience. But we didn't get here by accident. 10 years before Jimmy founded Brooks Winery, a state tourism office with a budget that ranked at about 47th in the country entered into a contract for creative services with a young advertising agency. Since that time, the collaboration between Travel Oregon and Wieden & Kennedy has produced some of the most innovative advertising found in the travel industry and the advertising world. And this year, we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of our storytelling relationship, a story that began on a Christmas Eve.
So there's
in
a funny
1988.
story.
And the story was about how the Oregon Things Look Different Here campaign was first born.
I think we had just signed a contract with Wieden & Kennedy.
And because it's new work, because it's a new relationship with an agency, because there's a new state tourism director, because there was some additional money that was added, so there were a lot of eyes on this campaign, the governor was brought in.
They met with Goldschmidt, and it was like Christmas Eve or some crazy time, and the weather was really bad, and they presented a bunch of lines to him.
Guess he wasn't in a great mood.
The governor was needing to get off to another occasion, so he was a little snippy about things.
And it's just not going well.
All these ideas are being thrown out there, and he's just not being receptive to anything. And then Dan said, hold on.
So he leans in and he goes, Governor, all the stuff we've been showing you, it's just for show. It's not the real work. Here's the real concept. Oregon, shaped like Wyoming, but comes with a beach.
I don't really care if you've lived in Oregon for 5 minutes or if you're 8th generation. You're an Oregonian and you're here for a reason, and that's to really value place.
One of the things I love working on the brand is that it has a real impact on Oregonians.
I think the impact on the state is amazing. There's certainly, you could put a dollar number to it, which there's some research that shows that for every dollar we spend, there's like $14 or $15 back.
It was the first state to protect every inch of its coastline. The first state to stop litter with a bottle bill. The first state to clean up the air by banning fluorocarbons. The first state where it's the people that are spoiled, not the places.
So when we launched Oregon Things Look Different Here, there was a lot of people and media stories criticizing it, saying it wasn't grammatical or it didn't say anything. And I still, 30 years later, see organizations and businesses, and there's even a radio station that uses some piece of Oregon Things Look Different Here. And I think that's really a testament to how strong that statement was.
It's hard not to be really emotional about the Seven Wonders campaign because certainly we saw every region in the state hugely impacted by the sheer beauty of the physical assets of Oregon.
Mount Hood was left off the list. So was the Oregon coast. The Columbia River Gorge was somehow overlooked, as were the Painted Hills. Smith Rock and the Wallowas are both missing from it. All we can figure is whoever named the Seven Wonders of the world never set foot in Oregon.
The fact that we have this 30-year relationship, we have this partnership, we have this level of trust, and for me, whether it's your ad agency or the partners that you work with, trust breeds good work.
And again, it goes back to because Dan cares. And that's what made me care, because I didn't want to be the person who lost Oregon tourism account, because I know he would fire me.
This is where I grew up. This is where I learned about life. And this is where I've done the work I was destined to be.
I have heard some things, whether it's true or not, and that is that Dan Wyden has shared with the Wyden Kennedy team that if they ever lose the Travel Oregon account, blood will spill and heads will roll.
Oregon, 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 Oregon.
Okay, so Frogs and Fish.
Frogs and Fish is legendary Travel Oregon, Wyden Kennedy collab work.
University of Oregon was in the Rose Bowl, and so we got some free advertising space, or we got some very heavily discounted advertising space. And say if you give us a 30-second commercial, we'll run it.
And I think it was Glenn started doing voices with the animals, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is nice. Oregon rivers are so clean.
You know, my uncle in the Rogue says the whole state's like this.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give this another shot.
The marketing landscape has changed dramatically. But while that landscape has changed, I don't know that our storytelling has changed that much in the time that I've been here. We still try to tell authentic stories that we think are going to resonate with our audience in a truthful, honest way.
With all the clutter that you see in the tourism marketing world, we constantly need to look for ways to be innovative in terms of how we're showing off our beautiful state.
What I think Oregon Only Slightly Exaggerated does is it invites that visitor to rediscover their childhood sense of wonder, to find happiness, and to let that happiness bring them to Oregon.
Especially with that Oregon Symphony soundtrack, I still get little goosebumps. I saw one comment was, I don't even know what this is, but I want to come to Oregon. I was like, I don't think it gets any better than that.
It's Oregon, with a very fantastical twist. A sense of whimsy and quirkiness and all those kinds of things have always made Oregon, Oregon. But it's done in a way that lets them find some happiness and joy again. And let that carry them to Oregon for their next great vacation destination. Yeah. I love that soundtrack. Kevin, you're right on, man. Every time I hear it, I get goosebumps still. I want you to just take a moment and think about Dan Wyden's statement there, nestled in the middle of that video. This is where I've done the work I was destined to be. Not the work he was destined to do, the work he was destined to be.
waking every day joyfully knowing you were doing the work you were destined to be. At Travel Oregon, we envision our work as being a better life for all Oregonians through strong, sustainable local economies. And in order to accomplish this vision, we will be inspirers of travel that drives economic development. We will be innovators and exemplary partners. We will be storytellers of Oregon's people and places, deliverers of world-class experiences, and strengtheners of the industry. And we will be preservers of Oregon's way of life and its natural places. In the realm of being innovators, think about what we're doing with the Visitor Lifecycle Management Program, where we're going to be able to blend the robust data, all the points of information coupled with our content, the videos, the stories, the itineraries, and images, with all of our guest preferences, and together we'll be able to reach a level of personalization in our communications with our visitors that nobody else in the destination marketing space has yet been able to accomplish. In the area of being storytellers, you can think about what we're trying to do with this blending of the fantastical and the real in Oregon, only slightly exaggerated. Our caveat was that every place that you saw in that video has to be a real place. And then you weave in the fantastical on top of it. We've been able to use this blending of the fantastical and the real in order to make it a point of engagement with our consumers as well. So they have an opportunity to see the fantastical, but also be reminded these are real places for you to come and enjoy and to find happiness again. When you think about the role of us being deliverers, think about the work that is already underway. As Oregon, as all of us in Oregon's travel and tourism industry are preparing to host the largest sporting event that will be happening in the world in 2021, when we host the World Track and Field Championships. Athletes from over 200 different countries, thousands of media here in Oregon from those same countries, billions of media impressions telling the story of Oregon to the world. When you think about us as strengtheners, I think about the grant program and how robust that has become over the last year to 18 months. And I know there's a lot of conversation about, you know, the medium and the large size grants, but you know, sometimes it's that little bit of money that makes all the difference. I mean, think about the grant that was awarded to the Silk Coos boat launch, $1,775 to help them replace signage that provides a map for canoers to make their way from Silk Coos Lake all the way to the Pacific Ocean. This trail is one of the top 10 canoe and kayak trail rivers that flow from an inland lake to the ocean in the nation. And they needed a grant for $1,775 to make it more impactful for visitors. And then think about us in the realm as being preservers. There are currently more than 40 working action groups that are supporting the work of Travel Oregon's Tourism Studio program. The rural tourism studios, the agritourism studios, the recreation and cycling tourism studios that are happening across the state. And you've heard me talk before about our Travel Oregon Forever Philanthropy Fund. We've raised over $175,000 in that fund since its inception in 2011, with over $45,000 raised last year alone. Now, please note, this is not a litany of Travel Oregon's successes. Instead, they are all evidence of who we are as Oregon's travel and tourism industry. And who we are is the most innovative, the most fearless, and the most collaborative statewide tourism industry found anywhere. Innovative enough to unite around a program like the Visitor Lifecycle Management Program that's going to personalize our communications with our guests in a way that no other destination has ever done. We are fearless enough to decide that river otters serving wine in hot air balloons, caterpillars riding mountain bikes, and sky whales soaring over the Three Sisters would make for compelling advertising. And we are humbly collaborative enough to drop those geopolitical boundaries that could divide us and mean little, if anything, to our visitors, and come together to sell Oregon first. And every one of these programs that I listed earlier resulted from your feedback, shared at listening sessions, or your suggestions in the industry surveys. Your fingerprints are on, your voice is within, and your story is wrapped up in every one of those programs and so many more. Similarly, these programs are guided by the strategic engagement of a group of volunteer leaders who have been nominated by the governor to serve as members of the Oregon Tourism Commission. This year, under the leadership of our chair, Ryan Snyder, and our vice chair, Scott Youngblood, we've got 9 members of the Oregon Tourism Commission who are helping lead the strategic plan and budgetary work, the vision of Oregon's travel and tourism industry. And I'd like to ask the commissioners that are here with us this morning to please stand so we can formally recognize you for your work and your volunteer service. Similarly, these same programs and many, many more resulted from the tireless efforts of the most innovative, fearless, and humbly collaborative team of individuals that I can think of. And that's the staff at Travel Oregon. And those of you that are in the room that I have the pleasure of working with every day, would you please stand so that we can recognize you for your diligence and your work and your vision for travel and tourism here in Oregon. All of us together have helped to make tourism in Oregon, here are the new stats, an $11.8 billion industry supporting 112,200 jobs. We added 2,700 jobs in 2017 alone, over 6,000 jobs over the course of the last 2 years. Do not tell me that the travel and tourism industry is not a job-creating engine for the state of Oregon. And we've grown our market share. When the Oregon Tourism Investment Proposal went into full effect in 2005, our share of total travel spending in the United States was 0.97%. In 2016, Oregon's share had grown to 1.18%. Now, this 0.21% increase might feel very de minimis to you, but let me assure you that that shift in share represents a shift in visitor spending to Oregon of $2.1 billion that would not have occurred were it not for our innovative, fearless, and collaborative spirit of working together. And we've seen our international visitation climb as well. Our efforts together at trade shows, in holding the Oregon Road Rally, in attending a variety of sales missions, trade missions, and the like around the globe. I mean, at one point, there were maybe a half a dozen trade shows that we might go to in a year. The most recent list I saw of what our team and what we've done together in representing Oregon around the world, 34 different trade shows were participated in last year. And as a result, Oregon was the 6th fastest growing state in terms of international visitation in 2017, outpacing our West Coast colleagues and growing our share of international visitation to America. But perhaps most importantly, it's the growing realization that tourism industry impacts reach far beyond all of these traditional measures. Our most recent research from Longwoods International on the halo effect of the travel and tourism industry here in Oregon tells us that awareness of Travel Oregon advertising, coupled with a trip to Oregon, has increased a visitor's perception of Oregon as a good place to live by 59%, as a good place to start their career by 111%, as a good place to attend college by 93%, and as a good place to start a business by 128%. And the growth of state and local taxes generated by visitors in 2017 was enough to support 350 additional firefighters, 320 additional police officers, or 330 additional teachers across the state of Oregon. My friends, this is so much bigger than ROI. This is about creating economic prosperity and preserving the quality of life for Oregonians. This is the better life that our work is destined to be. So we will remain resolutely focused on the power of our partnerships. We've launched a series of listening sessions and an industry-wide survey to review our progress and to identify the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Your ideas are needed to help drive this plan and all the ensuing programs. This is how we're going to best ensure that our ideals as an industry are infused into our collective efforts and that these ideals endure for those that come after us. Cedric Porter, an Episcopalian minister, said, "The strength of any organization is but the strength of the ideals that motivate it. Its influence is only as great as the constancy with which its members endeavor to uphold those ideals and to make them a part of their daily living." Cedric's grandson, who many of you know, is Trevor Cartwright, a principal at the Coragio Group. And he noted that for him, 3 words rose high above all the others: ideals, strength, and influence, in that order. Gradually, organizations can earn strength and influence. Neither comes easily, neither can be taken for granted, and indeed, they are both very fragile. Yet with enduring ideals, an organization that is both strong and influential becomes the reward. And the same is true for us in Oregon's travel and tourism industry. As we think back over our decades-long story as an industry, I believe that we have come to possess ideals that have made and keep us strong. Ideals like integrity, innovation, humility, and collaboration. And as Cedric said, as we diligently keep these ideals as part of our daily living, we will ensure the strength and influence of our industry endures. Similarly, the strength and influence of the travel industry at the national and global level is critically important to the work that we're doing here in Oregon. Our future as an industry is influenced by decisions that are being made by federal agencies, by Congress, and by the White House. And working on behalf of the travel and tourism industry at the national level is the U.S. Travel Association, under the leadership of their president and CEO, Roger Dow. Now, Roger's bio is in the app, so I won't belabor all the details of his very storied career. A career that started at Marriott as a lifeguard and grew to where he became the leader of their global sales and marketing efforts for Marriott Corporation around the world. What I do want to make sure you know about Roger is this: the U.S. Travel Association has become the leading tourism industry advocacy organization in America. Roger is a sought-after thought leader, an influencer regarding the health and the prosperity and the importance of the travel and tourism industry to the American economy. He is a dear friend and a tireless advocate for this industry that we all love. Please join me in giving a very warm Oregon welcome to Roger Dow. Roger?
Wow, Todd, that's great remarks. I'm just going to steal a copy and just cross it out and put U.S. everywhere you say Oregon, and I'll be done. What a great ambassador for our industry. I'm here, as Scott said, representing the other 98.2%. No, we've got a whole country here, 100% of us, whether it's Oregon, no matter where it is, how important we are to this great thing. It's great to be back in Oregon, great to be back in Central Oregon. This is my second time in Bend. We had our summer board meeting here. It was phenomenally successful. successful and converted a whole lot of people from around the world to say they want to come here and come here often. And we had an opportunity to have Esto in Portland, so that's great. Now, a little later, you'll see Lynn Carpenter here. She's from Visit California. She's not here to be on the panel. She's outside with signs, go back to California, go back to California. I don't know if it's going to work, but she's going to help do that. It's great to see, you know, a state like this with so much diversity of everything you have to offer. You've got it all. If you've been to Portland, if you've been to Bend, you've only been to 2 places, and compared to what Oregon has to offer, I think so much. Oregon's wines are so good. Now, I come from a region that represents, I live in Florida, work in D.C., Manatee Merlot. Now, Manatee Merlot is on the rise. We sold 3 cases last year, and it's going to grow. But each year at our summer board meeting, we have a big auction that raises a lot of money, and Todd brings the Oregon wines, which have been winners of this, and then Tom Norwalk brings Washington wines, and Carolyn Batetta from California brings California wines, and they have a tasting, and you can pay $100 to blindly pick what the best wine is. Well, last year, Carolyn Batetta, not that she doesn't have ethics, you talked a lot about ethics, she figured out that which wine was the California wine, and she kept telling everybody, vote for it, number, whatever number one or African number was, and that wine won. Turned out it was a Washington wine, so you know, otherwise Oregon would have won, I know that's for sure. Great to see my good friend Todd, and when we say good friend, I mean that sincerely. Todd was stepped up to be our national chair. I called up and begged him, and he agreed to do it, which I appreciated. Also been on the Travel Tourism Advisory Board. See, I get to see Todd all over the country, but all over the world. We were together just last week in Buenos Aires at the World Travel and Tourism Conference, and what this guy does to represent this great state is just sort of just phenomenal. Jeff Miller, my good friend from Travel Portland, they do such a great job in Portland. I love their Keep Portland Weird. You know, how many people can have a theme like that, and it attracts thousands and hundreds and millions of people to come there. The airport you have, the airport, you know, who would capitalize on carpet? But it's amazing. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to deviate, Todd, a little bit from what you and I talked about, because I want to talk about the folks here and reflect a little bit, but I also want to talk about what Todd asked me to talk about, and that's going to be, so what I'm going to talk about is our industry first, who we are, beyond travel and tourism, international and domestic, some challenges we have and some opportunities. Going to talk about leisure and the role leisure plays in our future, and how important leisure, I mean, when it comes to a state that understands leisure, you guys understand it. And then collaboration, how we can talk together with one voice. But then I'd like to talk about you. I'd like to talk about your brand. Not your brand, Oregon, not your brand, but your personal brand. I'd like to talk about your career, your future, because I think so many times we get together, and you've got experts here. I mean, they're talking about, they know more than I know in any possible way about how to market, how to promote, how to collaborate. So I'll let them do that talking, but I'd like to focus a little bit, if we can, at the end, if we have some time, about you. So save me a little talking. I'm going to show you a little video. You know this in spades, but I want to show you on a national basis of what we are and who we are as an industry and what we do. Can we roll the video, please?
Travel creates lasting memories and American jobs. Travel strengthens family bonds and business relationships. Travel fuels better health and wellness and our economy. Because travel is so important to our country and our lives, we support travel.
The U.S. Travel Association is a leading advocate for increasing travel to and within the United States.
From hotels and transportation, to retail, dining, and small businesses, and from our national parks and natural wonders to our arts and entertainment. The U.S. travel industry is as diverse and dynamic as America itself. Our industry supports 15 million American jobs and generates $2.1 trillion for our economy.
We are the united voice of the industry, a voice that says that an efficient, modern travel system not only improves the travel experience, but also makes America more competitive worldwide. That welcoming a growing number of international visitors enhances our diplomacy and national security and boosts our economy. That businesses and workers find real bottom-line benefits when they meet face-to-face, and that every American deserves to experience the upside of downtime, to explore the benefits of taking time off. Our industry's voice is heard not only in everyday conversations, but throughout city halls, state houses, and the chambers of Congress.
On behalf of its members and the industry, U.S. Travel prioritizes high-impact national issues that matter most for travel. Serves as a leading expert on the industry, determining key opportunities and challenges ahead. U.S. Travel informs and engages the travel community in a coordinated manner to elevate our industry and ensure policymakers know that travel is more than just fun. It's serious business.
We proudly represent a sector that's essential to the American economy and an activity that's fundamental to businesses and individuals: travel. And it's what we do. I was speaking, thank you very much. Not only U.S., but you take Oregon, you take the communities, the towns, all the things that were brought out in Todd's remarks. I was talking to Jason earlier from the governor's office, and it's great when you've got a governor that gets it, and you got people here in the state that get it and understand the impact. We're talking about jobs and revenue and how important it is, this state. But when it comes to the U.S., it wasn't always this way, and still we've got a long ways to go, and I'll be talking about that. When I got in this job, now I headed up global sales for Marriott, 10,000 salespeople all over the world. You'd think I'd know this, and I didn't. I arrived and I heard that we had lost 37% of our market share globally as everyone else was growing and we were stagnant in the U.S. And started looking, trying to figure out why. And I'll talk about in a few minutes about the whys, but I started talking about that we were the Rodney Dangerfield of industries. Now, those of you that are over 35, know, maybe over 45, know who Rodney Dangerfield is. He's a U.S. comedian who always said, "I get no respect," and his whole shtick for years was, "He gets no respect." Well, we were that way as an industry. We got no respect. People down the street from where I live in D.C. or where I work, they didn't look at us, our industry as serious. We were frivolous. We were the fun folks. I mean, you just look at all the great advertising that this state has done, and it's fun, it's great, people enjoying themselves, people getting together. And people look at that and down Capitol Hill and they say, huh, they're the fun boys and girls. We like to deal with the serious boys and girls: manufacturing, technology, financial services, healthcare, etc. Yet, we're the front door to economic development. And it's not about, and I think the problem is we may talk too much about ourselves. I'm starting to begin to think that it's great, all the stats that we have, and I'll share, and in that video, but we're talking about ourselves almost to ourselves. We got to do a better job, I think, of connecting the dots, of showing that nothing happens until travel and tourism. Nothing happens until we get together. Think of the impact that we have on manufacturing when someone decides whether to move a factory or plant somewhere because of lifestyle, and the people might enjoy working and living here versus maybe living somewhere else. How that construction, just think of all the stuff that's going on, whether it be the outdoors, the hotels, all the stuff that is being built. You don't need to improve the roads from all over this state unless it's for people who travel all over the state. Agriculture, we talked wine, how important it is, but the agriculture and the message that Oregon has done to bring this thing not only to national province, but global province. Todd took most of his advertising budget to get on the cover of Wine Spectator, which I remember a few years ago, Oregon wines were there, but that was a brilliant move on your part. No, he didn't. It happened because the wine was great. Also, universities, all the impact on no one ever decided that they were going to come here to go to school until they probably came from outside Oregon, until they came here on a vacation first and say, Mom and Dad, I might like to go to school there versus some other place and all that. Restaurants, I was talking to John coming over here about the impact of lodging and restaurants in this state. The National Restaurant Association did a survey a few years back, and it stunned them. 40% of all fine dining experiences all are related to travel. And think about it. What do? You go somewhere on a trip, what's the first thing you do? You call a colleague of yours, you call a relative, you call a former college roommate or something, say, hey, I'm in town for 2 days, pick a restaurant, I'm buying. all those restaurants. In D.C., you know, when Congress is out and people aren't coming, the restaurants are kind of empty. You can get in any restaurant. But what also surprised them was the fast food restaurants. 17% of all fast food dining came from travel and tourism. And all you have to do is be on the highway on a Saturday and Sunday, and those people aren't going to work. Where are those people that are in McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and Wendy's? They're traveling. They're all travelers. When you look at entertainment, we have those of you coming to IPW in just a couple of weeks. In Denver, we'll see on Tuesday, as you do every year, where Broadway Inbound does 6 Broadway shows. And I talked to Charlie Flateman, who's head of Broadway Inbound, and I said, Charlie, you're such a good guy to do this for us, to entertain our people. He goes, you kidding me? This is my bread and butter. He said, do you understand, Roger, that 80% of all Broadway tickets are bought by tourists? Do you understand that 40% of all my tickets are bought by international visitors? Without travel, there is no Broadway. You look at other things. You look at sports. Todd talked about the World Track and Field Championships and how many people around the globe are going to be during every cutaway seeing parts of Oregon, seeing, you know, all the area and what that's going to do for the state. Retail. It's no coincidence that outlet malls are all located near big travel areas. No. I talked a few years ago to the president of Saks about international travel. He's, Roger, if we didn't have international visitors, I would have to close my doors in New York City. Close my doors. He's like, could not even keep them open. When you look at real estate, think of all the second homes that people have bought, you know, and a few of those, the Californians you love, that come up here and buy a second home. Not because they read about it in the paper, because they came here on a trip and they said, I wouldn't mind having a second home. I wouldn't mind retiring here. We called the National Association of Realtors. I said, do you have any idea how many homes international non-U.S. citizens buy? They said, yeah, we just did a study on it. $52 billion a year. $52 billion are folks that buy homes. And that's great, I think, because I live in Florida, and down in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I thought all the condo buildings were empty until season came and the lights all go on. It was all Canadians and folks like that coming down there. And it's great. They come, they spend their money, they pay their taxes. You don't have to educate their kids. You don't have to fill their potholes. You don't have to give them health care. It's beautiful. So financial services. Look at all the banks that, you know, so the reason banks open is because more people are moving somewhere. Small businesses. This is a small business industry. Yeah, we talk about, you know, the states and the big hotel companies and the airlines, but it's 85% small businesses. Just stand on the back dock of this hotel or any hotel and just watch all the mom and pops that come, the sign companies, the little awards companies, the florists, and all the people that come in, the small business, the tour guides, the outfitters, all that happen. And then when it comes to sales, we couldn't do any business in this country if it wasn't face-to-face. If we weren't getting together for face-to-face, I guarantee you, if you're going to make that sales call in person, and someone else has sent them 20 emails, guess who's getting the business? When you look at conventions and trade shows, that's how we get business done. People come to trade shows, they buy our products nationally and all that. If you want to look at the impact of travel and tourism on the economy and the direct line, just go to September 11th. In fact, I happened to be in Oregon on September 11th. It was, I was giving a speech to Blue Cross Blue Shield in Portland, and I had to send a note to Bill Marriott on a whole thing we were working on, and so I said to myself, discipline. Don't get up, don't turn on the TV, don't do anything. And I get up, and I told JJ, the manager of the hotel, I was going to meet him for breakfast. So I didn't turn on TV, so it's now 7 o'clock. I go down to meet him. Go to fax my thing, and JJ says, guess you're going nowhere. I said, what? He said, don't you know? And we walked over to the TV set and watched horrifically, as we all did, on September 11th. Well, what happened? What happened is our industry came to its knees in 1 hour. In 1 hour, there was no travel and tourism whatsoever. In fact, if you want to see if you go to New York and want to see a great Broadway show, odd name, go see a show called Come From Away. It's all about Gander, Newfoundland, when a town of 7,000 became a town of 13,000 overnight. And of course, every plane coming to the United States had to land there, and the impact, it's a fabulous, fabulous show. But we came to our knees in 1 hour. The U.S. economy followed within 30 days, the world economy within 60 days, a depression across and it didn't start with somebody, you know, not buying retail. It started with someone crippling travel. And you just see how the effects are. A good friend of mine, Steve Moore, who's the head of Phoenix, the convention at Phoenix CVB, his budget was under attack, which everybody's budget's under attack. Todd, I don't know how you keep building and growing your budget, but you do. You're an anomaly. Most of the rest of the state, Florida, where I come from, some idiot who's he's the Speaker of the House said, you know, we're just going to zero out Visit Florida's budget because people will come here anyway because we have good beaches. I try to remind him that so does North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Texas, Bermuda, you know, Mexico, Caribbean, you know, but this is the foolishness of saying there'll be no impact of that. Well, anyway, so they were threatening to cut Steve Moore's budget for Phoenix in half. And he spent some money. And he had a research firm go out and he said, I want to know what amount of tourism dollars go to taxes and what amount for the state taxes. And then I want to know every single park, every single library, everything that happens, and I want 2 columns, with tourism, without tourism. And they went and he presented it district by district. But his final note was, he said, let me tell you, a hotel room is 300 square feet. A hotel room pays $5,200 a year in taxes. The average home in Phoenix, home and condo, is 1,200 square feet and pays $1,700 in taxes. He said, you folks make the call, tourism or no tourism. And he got his full budget. And I think we have to do that. We've got to connect those dots and talk about the impact we have on everything, plus what we do in ours. When you look at, U.S. Travel has a new tool. It's called the Travel Impact Calculator. It's for states. And what it does, you can go on Oregon, you go on that tool, and you can say, what is a 1%, 2%, 3% plus? 1%, 2% minus have on of travel spending. What does it have on spending, revenue for the state, taxes for the state, jobs for the state? And just like Todd put up, it'll also tell you how many firefighters are gained or lost, how many teachers, how many policemen. One of the best things to really bring home the message is, yes, it's travel and tourism, but it's the lifeblood of this economy. Let's talk international now. When you look at international, when I first came to this job, I learned, and we coined a word called the lost decade. And we talked about how much travel and tourism we had lost, that 37% of market share. And when you look at it, what had happened, we'd fallen asleep in this country between 1995 or so, some in the 90s, and 2005. We fell asleep. We said, we got all the business. Everybody comes here. And the rest of the world woke up. And the rest of the world said, we're going to promote that darling called travel and tourism for our country. During that 10-year period, the rest of the world grew long-haul travel by 40%, or 50 million new travelers. That same time, the U.S. grew by 1.5%, or 450,000. What's wrong with this picture? The greatest country in the world with every possible thing, whether it's the outdoors or the weirdness of Portland or the entertainment in New York City or the shopping or Las Vegas or whatever. We got it all. 1.5%? Well, that's what had happened. Why? There's about 3 or 4 reasons. One, visa wait times were going through the roof, especially from China, India, and Brazil. If you want to get, this was after September 11th, our government was trying to do the right thing and try and make sure we stayed safe. But we clamped down really, really tight on people coming from those. It was 130 days to get your visa if you were from China, India, 130 days. Can you imagine if you wanted to go to France and you had to wait 130 days for them to say in a 3-minute interview, yes, you can come here, no, you can't? Would you go? No. But yet people still came here. So visa wait times. Next was the thing, visa waiver, with visa waiver countries. Now the visa waiver country, I call it the best program with the lousiest name. Visa waiver sounds like we're looking the other way. Visa waiver is actually a layered security program. There are treaties with other countries to make sure that we have access to their security, that we know from Interpol, we know a lost and stolen passport, we know how they're vetting people. It's layered, and it gives us much better security. Well, we had 27 visa waiver countries in 1987. Hadn't added any. Well, we went to work on this, and we added 11. So now we have 38 visa waiver countries. Now, visa waiver countries are mostly Western Europe, Japan, to come here. Again, when we got those, we went to come here. Again, when we got those, we went attacked those visa wait times and got them down to 2 days. But we had no promotion in Mexico, and we were silent. And I'd go to talk to Congress in Mexico, and we were silent. And I'd go to talk to congressmen, and I say, we need to promote America. So we don't have to promote America. Everybody knows about America, our movies, our music, our fashions. They know America. And I said, Congressman, how long have you been a congressman? And he said, 34 years, darn proud of it. I said, so you don't even have to campaign anymore. What a cush job you have. You kidding me? They want my seat so badly. They brought $2 million in from outside the state to try and unseat me. Toughest campaign I ever had in my life. I said, I thought everybody knew you. That's different. No, it's not different. Whether it's the U.S. and things we do. So we worked together as an industry and created Brand USA. And Brand USA, and what Brand USA is so important, and you'll hear more about it. You know, Karen will be up here, Karen Grunberg, but you'll hear more about how it levels the playing field. I don't care how big your budget is, Todd, you can't compete with Las Vegas, California, Florida, 76 million. You can't compete with that. In Florida, 76 million. You can't compete with that. But what it does is it levels the playing field. So you in Bend or Central Oregon or, you know, Eastern, Western Oregon, you can say, I want to talk to Canadians. I want to talk to, and I want to pair up with the Western states and all that. And it allows you to do that. Before it had to be Oregon money, California money, et cetera. So we solved that with Brand USA, now $200 million program. China, when we started this whole thing back in the days, there were 300,000 Chinese came here. Nice, but not that important. Last year, 3.2 million Chinese. Unbelievable when you begin focusing on a 10-year visa and getting people to come here. And it's the most aspirational place around the world. You look around the world, everybody wants to come here first. I don't care what it is. You know, people can separate politics and place. And they say, I want to come to America. And we've got to capitalize on that. Give you an idea what all those things did. 2009, we had $54 million, 55 million visitors, I'm sorry, $140 billion from outside the U.S. Last year, we had 76 million visitors, $258 billion. Numbers went up by 50%, spending doubled. Amazing. It's our number 2 export. Number 1 is heavy manufacturing, Boeing. Guess what? If there were no travelers, there would be no Boeing. And so the bottom line, with number 1 services input, 25% of all export growth came from our industry. We've got to get people to understand that. An $80 billion positive balance of trade. You hear all this talk about trade? We're the darling. We're on the upside. People spend more money here than we spend there. You know, everyone could learn from this industry of what it takes. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk a bit about politics, because I know we're in a country that, unfortunately, Todd talked about bringing, you know, no matter what your politics is, together. And we're in a very separate place right now. And we've got to figure out our way in travel and tourism to come back and to talk as Americans. But I'll give you an example before I talk about this president, President Obama. President Obama was in his job about 2 weeks. 2 weeks into his job, he made a freshman mistake. And he gave a speech, and the roaring crowd in back of him, he said, you can't go to Las Vegas or the Super Bowl on the taxpayer's dime. And those of you that saw it happen, it tanked the meetings industry. It wasn't him, just him, but every other politician, every other media person piled on. Anyone who went to a resort. You know, resorts were taking resort off their letterhead. They were just hotels now. People were taking reader boards out of the lobbies, and you had to ask, where's the meeting of your resort? And the media piled on. Other politicians. A politician from West Virginia, she came out the next day and she said, I'm passing legislation that any TARP company that got money from the government can no longer meet at a resort. I called her office up and I said, would you tell the good congresswoman that she happens to live 15 minutes from a resort called the Greenbrier? It's about to go bankrupt in about a month and lay off 650 people, which they did. And she called me back personally. She said, Mr. Dow, I didn't mean the Greenbrier. I meant those resorts in California and Arizona and Florida. Those, I said, oh, I got it. Okay, yeah, get them. But that's what basically happened. Everyone was talking about it. And so coincidentally, we were having a CEO roundtable. I wanted to get the CEOs together from the billion-dollar plus companies, the big hotel companies, the American Expresses, the Expedias, the rental car companies, Disney, Universal. So we were coming together in our very first meeting, and it was the first week of March, and I think I had about 12 of the CEOs said they could come on short notice for this meeting. So I called over to the White House, and I said, I'm bringing these CEOs from these billion-dollar plus companies, employ, you know, several million Americans. Can you send a speaker over to our meeting? This is on a Thursday. Our meeting was Wednesday morning. They said, call me back. They said, yes, Rahm Emanuel will come over and speak at your reception on Tuesday night. If he can speak between 7:20 and 7:31. But he's got to be out the door by 7:31 or he can't be there because he's got a dinner to be to. So I said, okay, we'll take 11 minutes of Rahm versus no one. And they said, send us a list of who's going to be there. So I sent them the list of all the CEOs over there. They called me back Friday afternoon, Mr. Dow, we changed our mind. We want you to come to the White House, your group, not me, with their group. And I said, look, I said, who are we going to meet with? What are we going to do? I said, these people all have cufflinks. They've all had tours. I went to the White House once I thought we were going to talk about travel. We got some 32-year-old lecturing us on Social Security. Nothing to do with travel. I said, they don't need a Social Security lecture. They don't need cufflinks. They said, no, you're going to meet with somebody very important. I said, who? They said, we can't tell you. I said, well, guess what? They're not coming. You tell me and we'll decide if we'll be there. I said, these are very important people, and I've only got them for half a day. And they called me. They said, we'll call you Monday. Monday came and gone. They never called me. I said, oh, well, not going. And Monday night, about 7:30, my cell phone rings at home. How did they get my cell phone number? Mr. Dow, this is the White House. I said, really? They said, once you know, you're going to meet with Larry Summers, President Obama's chief economic advisor. I said, that's good news. Larry Summers, perfect. So we trot our people over to meet with Larry Summers, and we go in there and walk in the White House, and there's Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan Chase. And, oh, come on. Come on, give me one of those. All right. I need to look more dynamic, you know. So, yeah, help me with that. All right, so Jamie Dimon's there, and John Tisch, who's head of Lowe's, introduced me, and I said, what are you doing here? He said, I got a meeting in 5 minutes on this TARP stuff with Larry Summers. I said, so do we. He goes, I don't know. And Larry Summers comes, let's go, Jamie. And off they go. I go, oh, my gosh, we're going to get cufflinks. And this woman came out. Her name was Valerie Jarrett. I didn't know her at the time, got to know her very well. And Valerie came out and said, all your people here? I said, yep. She said, give me all your electronics, put them in these little boxes, come in this room. And we had it down to 7 minutes. In 2 minutes, I was going to tell them how big this industry is, how many voters we have. Jay Rizzullo, head of Disney Resorts at the time and hotels, was going to say, beating up on international travelers and not welcome to America is not good for the economy. And John Tisch was going to say, you know, saying meetings are bad is not good for the economy either. And so we got our 7 minutes out, and Valerie Jarrett says, you know, this is important. The president would like to know, Todd, is there national media here? Any national media in the room? Okay, I got to be very careful because I'm going to tell you about the meeting because what happens is, you know, I don't want to see it on the front page of one of those papers back east. They wouldn't do it anyway. But so she said, this is important. The president wants to know more about that. She stood up. And as she stands up, President Obama comes walking into the room with about 3 or 4 people. Sitting next to her and between Bill Maher and her was an attorney from the White House attorney. She pulls her chair back, and President Obama comes and sits right down between Bill Maher and Valerie Jarrett. He comes in, quite frankly, had a chip on his shoulder. He walked in, he said, I know you guys are all mad at me. He said, about what I said about Las Vegas and the Super Bowl. He said, let's get something straight. That wasn't aimed at you. That was aimed at American bankers. Americans hate these bankers. They hate them. He said, anytime I say something about bankers, it's good for us. And Bill Marriott turned to him, Bill Marriott at the time, 83 years old, turns to him, he said, Mr. President, he said, you are now President of the United States. When you say something, it matters. Do you realize, he said, I have hotels all around the country. He said, I have a hotel in Boston with a Sheraton next door and a Westin next door to that. He said, we were running 84% occupancy 4 months ago. He said, we're now running 65% occupancy. Do you know who's out of work? Not me, not the general manager, not the head of sales. The person who needs a job the most, the waiter, the waitress. And I saw the light go off in the president's mind. And from that moment on, he became phenomenally supportive of this industry, calling for a national travel and tourism strategy, calling for, you know, us to have 100 million travelers by. Well, in fact, let me show you a video. I call it the education of the president. Can we roll the video, please?
You can't go take a trip to Las Vegas or go down to the Super Bowl on the taxpayer's dime. Every year, tens of millions of tourists all over the world come to visit America. More money spent by more tourists means more businesses can hire more workers. I want America to be the top tourist destination in the world. Today, I'm here in Cooperstown to talk about some new steps that will lead to more tourism, getting more folks to come and visit the treasures, the national treasures that we have all across this country. Tourism translates into jobs and it translates into economic growth. I want to turn the 70 million tourists that came last year into 100 million each year by the beginning of the next decade.
That's basically what happened, and I watched us, administration get behind this industry and all the things, the Travel and Tourism Advisory Board that Todd said, and all the things to start pushing this industry forward, and the results were miraculous of what we've done. I was asked to come speak at WTTC years ago, the World Travel and Tourism Conference, on the American Miracle. The American Miracle. But the rest of the world was looking at what we were doing. So now we're in a different situation. We have a new administration, a new president, and quite frankly, we got some challenges. We got some big challenges, and I'm going to share with you what's going on. First of all, let's talk about what's happening. We've got a dichotomy of numbers going on. In other words, Todd put up the numbers of what's going on in this state, and I go to state meetings, I see the same thing happening. But at the same time, Todd and his colleagues and cities are all saying our numbers are up, things are looking good, or at least we're flat, even though despite Latin America, let's say in Florida, we're still strong, all that. And then I'm hearing the Commerce Department come out and say travel and tourism is down internationally 4 to 6%. And we're watching these numbers and say, how can it be? Is Todd making up his numbers? Is everyone else making up their numbers? So we went out, we went to Adara, Sabre, Expedia, STR, Tourism Economics, the Airline Reporting System, WTC, and said, what's going on? As best we can figure, we're probably about up 2%. And so we went to the Commerce Department with a lot of our folks, and tourism economists sat down and say, with Homeland Security, said, we got to talk. Something's wrong here. So they started looking at their numbers, and sure enough, something was wrong. What was happening is they were counting, they're counting a group of international visitors as American citizens. And somehow, because the number of American citizens jumped travel 380% in 1 year. And you say, how does that happen? 380%. And it turns out, so what happened is a couple of weeks ago, Commerce came out and said, we're going to hold putting numbers out till we get this straight. So we're leaning on Homeland Security and all that, say, hey, we've got to get these numbers straight because everything revolves around these numbers and we've got to get them to agree. Yeah, we could go out and do our own numbers, but then it'd always be the government saying, hey, so we're going to work hard right now to do that, and a lot of us are putting a lot of pressure to make that happen. But here's what has really happened. What's really happening is, forget whether our numbers are up flat, down 4%, up 2%. What's really happened, and we know this for a fact, we're losing share. Remember I talked about losing share? Todd talked about doubling share. We're losing share. What's happening is our share in 2015 of the international traveler was 13.7%. Last year it was 11.9%. So we've lost 1.7% in share points. The rest of the world is now growing everywhere else in the world by long-haul travel because we're getting all the numbers from around the world. And the rest of the world's up probably 6%, maybe more. And you begin looking at it. The 10 biggest countries, 10, 11 countries we look at, long-haul travel, everyone is up. Some 4%, Spain up over 25%. And we're losing share. 2 countries have lost share, United States and Turkey. Turkey, it's devastating what's happened to Turkey. Turkey's lost one of the greatest travel destinations in the world, is lost share because people are afraid. They're afraid, of terrorism and all that, and so on. So we have lost the share. Well, let's take those little points. That 1.7%. What's that worth? That 1.7% is 7.4 million visitors, $32.2 billion to our economy, and 100,000 jobs. And when you look at that, and everyone's, you've seen the talk, hey, we've got a new plant coming to Alabama, a Toyota plant, going to employ, 4,000 Americans just up the street a little bit. Amazon's looking for a new second headquarters, 50,000 American jobs. Oh, everyone's so excited, we got to get it here. 1.7%. 25 Toyota plants. 2 Amazon headquarters. That's just if we get even to where we were. And we're built. We don't have to build a new headquarters. You don't have to build a new plant. We're built. We're there. We've got the national parks. We've got the outdoors. We've got the park. This is the easiest thing in the world to fix. But we're not on the same page. What are the factors? The factors that caused this started in 2015. And I'm not here to in any way be a Trump apologist. We got problems. We got problems with this president and how he articulates things. We have problems. But it started in 2015. 2015, several things happened. The U.S. dollar got much stronger. So if you're anywhere around the world, it cost more to come here. Economies started getting weaker around the world. And you looked at parts of Europe, South America, Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, devastated. So their economies went down. Then proliferation of low-cost carriers in Europe, buying Airbus and Boeing planes like crazy, WOW Air, Norwegian Air, Ryanair. And if you go to Europe, you can go from London to Greece for 37 pounds. I couldn't get an Uber here for 37 pounds. I mean, so what's happening, so you got all this capacity that they're trying to fill. If you're sitting in Europe, you're going, oh my God, what a deal. And so that's happening. Then we pile on top of it a rhetoric that says we're going to be tough on people, tough on security, tough on everyone else, and you, damn it, you want to come to America, you better be, darn sure that we're not going to arrest you. And that kind of a rhetoric is very harmful. But the reason I mention that is, I say, because it started a while back, and what's happening, and it's not helping. This travel ban that's going on, the discussion, it's not helping. I'll be honest with you, the travel ban affects less than 50,000 travelers. Yes, we want them, but the travel ban is minuscule compared to the rest. But it's the noise. The noise that it creates is a huge, huge problem. The message for security, yes, security is important. Security is job one. If we don't have security, we have no industry. September 11th, 1 day, 1 hour. So security is job number one, but also welcoming people. We've got to welcome people. Good security and a welcoming message to everyone else is not mutually exclusive. You can do both, and we have to do both. Now we're talking extreme vetting. Extreme vetting is basically a proposal to take people with visas that basically affect about 14 million people, and they're going to be asked, proposed, they're going to be asked, where were you in the last 5 years? Who did you meet with in the last 5 years? Let's give you your social media. Are you on any Al-Qaeda or ISIS accounts? Give us a list of who you correspond with, and it's the honor system. Do you think one bad guy's going to tell the truth? Do you think one good guy's going to say, too much trouble? I'm not coming. So we're working very hard to say, sounds good, isn't real. And we've got to have real security versus just stuff that makes us feel good. The other challenge we have is turnover in deputies. I met with Rex Tillerson. Our industry revolves around Commerce Department, State Department, and Homeland Security, and transportation. Those four are very important to us. Met with Rex Tillerson, great guy, real adult. And I asked him, I said, how you doing? He goes, check with me at noon. I said, what's easier, running State Department or Exxon? He said, Exxon. He said, there I was the boss. And he left. We don't have a Deputy Secretary of Commerce. That's the person we would normally deal with. We don't have one. And getting these people approved is hard. And it goes both ways. Republicans have not done a great job of moving things forward, and even the Republican senators and the Dems on their side are saying, hey, let's make it tough. Let's make it slow. So we don't have the people in place that we normally would talk to. We got a new Secretary of Homeland Security. I'm going to be meeting with her next week. Got to get her to understand, tough on bad guys, welcoming to everybody else, and how important it is. Gary Cohen was our champion at the White House. Gary Cohen has left the White House. Reed Cordish, a very good close friend. Ivanka introduced he and his wife, very good, close to the family, very tight. Met with him, had a great meeting. He said, I'm going to get this right to the president. A week later, he left. So we've got a challenge. We've got a real challenge, and I'm not going to Pollyanna, I'm not going to code it, but here's what we're doing. We formed a coalition of a Visit U.S. coalition. Visit us, Visit U.S. 15 associations coming together. It's lodging, gaming, timeshare, retail, franchises, restaurant association, commercial real estate, travel technology, Native Americans, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. and all of us saying, this is what's important. And we're dealing want to deal with facts. We've done some focus groups, and we did focus groups with people that are close to the president and say, what's the message? What works? And here's some things we heard. It doesn't resonate to say we need more business. It doesn't resonate to say, gee, we've lost a little bit here. It doesn't resonate. They all think we're doing well because we're all out there saying, hey, things are good. That's not resonating. Security. It doesn't resonate to say, hey, lighten up on the security. Get more people in. Doesn't resonate with those folks. Confronting the president. I've got members. My executive committee are saying, you got to get up there and punch him right in the face. That's what you got to do. You got to punch him, then hit him again. Hit him again. Well, we've looked at 11 organizations and industries that have done that. It doesn't work well. We've got a unique individual here that we have to figure out how to play the game. And we're going to play the game. And we've got to talk, what's going to do is how the opportunity, how we can win, how we can create jobs, how we can get jobs in Oregon, and not just a few Rust Belt plants, but all around this country, how adult education is travel, and get it, how we're going to win. And we're losing. We're losing. Look at those guys in France. They're kicking our butt. Look at Spain. Come on. We got to talk that language. We've got to hit the nerve. And that's so important. If you'll take, and so it's not going to be easy. We had an early meeting with Obama, and it took a while. The video I told you was over 3 or 4 years. But the bottom line, there's a song that I grew up with, and the lyrics went, the difficult I'll do right now, the impossible will take a while. And we're working on the impossible. It'll take a while, but we're going to get it done, because we're on the good side of good, of everything that we have to say. You look at Brand USA. Karen Grunberg will be here at Brand USA, and it's so important. We got that passed. But Brand USA, here's what happened with Brand USA. The funding mechanism for Brand USA went up, and they said it will be in place till 2027, okay? But Brand USA is only authorized to 2020. And then one of the geniuses in the budget department, this is probably some 16-year-old putting the budget together, I mean, it doesn't rise to this level, just said, hey, we'll lop out some stuff to make the tax thing work. And one of them was, we'll take the money from Brand USA starting in 2021 and put it towards general fund. Dumb. Really dumb. Why would you save $100 million, which in Washington is a sneeze, $100 million of money that's not even taxpayer money, and risk billions of dollars? So we've got to tell that story. Your two senators, Marley and Wyden, are behind this. Todd's working hard with Congressman Walden because he's on the all-powerful Commerce Committee to get that done. It's so important. We've got IPW coming up. When you look at IPW coming up in Denver, the 50th IPW, May 19th, you got to be there. And our job, and we did start last year, we're going to keep doing it this year, is for us to welcome people to the United States, welcome everybody to our country. And that's so important, because I think what we have to say is we're not red, we're not blue, we're Americans. And we as an industry have to figure it out. We got this guy, he is our president. We've got to figure out how to make it work. And we've got to figure it out because the alternative doesn't make sense. So we've got to do that as an industry. We've got to get the welcome message out there. Let's talk domestic. When we go domestic, strong. Leisure and domestic are supporting our industry, 1.8% up this coming year, 3.5% in spend. And I think so important domestic is telling your story, just like you've done. You've told your story, your unique Oregon story that no one else can tell that story. It's your story, and that's so important. National parks, so important. We've built a coalition on national parks and federal lands and all that, of how we've got to improve them, fix them, and not keep kicking the can down the road. National Travel and Tourism Week's coming up. A chance for 450 destinations to tell their story of what it means to travel and tourism. And then Project Time Off. Project Time Off is really focusing on what we can do to get Americans to start taking vacation. We stopped taking vacation in this country in the year 2000. Year 2000, we took 20.2 days of vacation. 2014, we took 16 days, 16.2. We lost a week of vacation, and that is 660 million days of unused paid vacation. We've got to start taking it again. We've got to people understand how important it is and what vacation does, not only for your relationships, your family, recharge your batteries. And we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. And then I said, you know, what our grandmothers taught us, how about guilt? So, so we put together this little video to, I hope you show it to everybody, about guilt and why it's important. Can we roll the video, please?
This year, you won't be at your best friend's side when she gets married. but you will have the most unused vacation days in the office. You won't see her first steps, but you will memorize every foot of your commute. You won't read that book from the back of this boat because you're reading this presentation from the back of this conference room. And the only anniversary you'll take time to celebrate this year will be held in the break room. She'll still get married. She will still learn to walk. That boat will still set sail. If you don't take time off, the only thing missing will be you. But it doesn't have to be that way. Explore the upside of downtime. Fall in love, or jump into the heart of the action. Because when you're there, you can make a lasting memory, or be part of a last memory. Time off may give you a sense of perspective, or a sense of adventure, or just a chance to slow down and connect. But no matter how you spend the time or the feeling it evokes, we all get to what's important the same way, by taking time off. We've become a nation of work martyrs, letting vacation days go to waste while we waste away at the office. It's time for a change. Project Time Off is a national movement to shift culture so that using personal time off is not considered frivolous, but essential to strengthening families and improving personal health. A business investment with proven returns and an economic necessity. Join the movement. Take a day. See what you're missing.
See what you're missing. I saw that video and I reflected back to, I have two children. I've got a son who's 35 and a daughter who's 32 now. But I reflected back to my daughter, Devin, at 32, when I was at a ASA board meeting in California, and it was around about the 17th, 18th of December, and I came back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and my wife, Linda, says, hurry up, get ready. We're going to so-and-so's house for a holiday party. You know, we've got to get ready fast. And I'm taking it, I'm standing there, I'm shaving, and my daughter, Devin, is standing in the mirror. She's, at the time, 4 or 5 years old. And she says to me, she said, Daddy, what? I said, are you going to be home for Christmas? I said, of course I am. And then she asked the question that killed me. She said, are you sure? And I thought to myself, what event had she had? A soccer game, a school play, something that I said I'd be there, but I wasn't. And I said, can't let that happen again. And what the most important thing for all of us is to plan. We had something we call National Plan for Vacation Day in January. Phenomenal success. So we're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in our industry, but beyond our industry, to plan. Because if you plan, you sit down in January and you mark out the days you want. I did it the first year we did it. I said, I'm not going to get caught in this thing. And I mapped out my best year I ever had. My wife and I went to Europe. We took a cruise. We traveled. U.S. travel flourished. When I'm out of town, it does much better, by the way. So that's why they keep me on the road. But the bottom line is, it flourished. The next year, I got cocky. I didn't need a plan. I got this thing down. The next year come October, and I said to my assistant, I said, how many more days do I need to make sure I get all my days? She said, you can't. She said, you've got something every single week. And she said, there's no way. I said, well, okay, every Friday's going to be vacation because I can't say I didn't. And, but that planning, and just to help you with your planning and think about planning, we've got our good friend Samantha Brown, who's our spokesman for the industry, talking about National Plan for Vacation Day. Can we roll the video, please?
Hey, America! Travel expert Samantha Brown here, and we need to talk. I know you say that vacation is important to you, and you want to travel, and you value your time off, and yet, you continually leave vacation days unused. You want to know how many? Just a second. 662 million! It's time to stop making excuses and start making plans. You're not prioritizing your vacation. You say that it's not the right time, that you're just really busy at work right now, or maybe you tell yourself you can always go next year. Well, guess what? There's no perfect time. Work will always be busy, and you are lying about next year. You're lying to yourself and this tree.
Join me on January 30th for National Plan for Vacation Day.
So now that you're out of excuses, what are you waiting for?
So important plan. You notice, and so you're going to get more than your fair share when people take time off. She wasn't standing in front of an office building in New York City to film that, was she? No, she was outdoors. And so the opportunity is great. So as I said when I started, I want to shift. I want to shift a little bit, and because, again, you have all the travel experts here, so I'm going to talk a little about you. And I want to reflect back on a little bit on my little career and some thoughts that might add some value to you. I don't know. And I was moved by this. I saw Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz is a football coach. A lot of folks know Lou Holtz. He was at Notre Dame, and he's a football coach. He's also a great speaker. Lou Holtz is 81 years old. And I was watching a video someone sent me of Lou Holtz talking at a graduation, a college graduation. And he said a line that I will never forget. He said, "You don't have to listen to me." He said, "I'm 81 years old." He said, "But I'd like to leave you with one fact. I was 21 once. You were never 81. Now, I'm not 81, and you're not 21, but somewhere in the middle, it's getting kind of close. So I just want to talk about some things that I've seen. So first of all, I'm going to walk through my tiny career, and then I'll reflect on something. Okay, so I'm in high school. My father has a heart attack. Wipes out our family with the little money we have, so I have to go to school I can commute, I can drive to. So I go to a school called Seton Hall. Okay, so I go there, but I was lucky, I got a scholarship, so I was able to stay there. So I also wrestled in high school, so I got with the wrestling team, made the wrestling team, because Seton Hall's famous for basketball, not for wrestling. So I get on the wrestling team, and they've got a poster in the gym, Red Cross lifeguard training. I said, wouldn't that be cool to be a lifeguard? So I get that training, and I get to be a lifeguard, and so then I go back on spring break, and I go to all the pools, and I found out that lifeguard jobs are jobs you inherit. You just don't get. Because everybody's either got the job next year or their brother or cousin or best friend has a job. You get referrals in lifeguard job. You don't get them. So my mom says, she said, well, we got a hotel opening up near us, near a mall where I go. Why don't you go to see them? So I go, and this hotel's under construction. I apply for life, and I get a lifeguard job. The hotel was called Marriott, okay? So I start there a summer, and it was Marriott had 6 hotels. I'd never heard of them, 6 hotels. So I was a lifeguard for 3 years, and then what ends up happening is the general manager of that hotel comes up, and he said, what are you doing when you graduate from college, Roger? I said, I don't know, Mr. Tiefel. I said, it's hard getting a job. The economy's tough, you know, Vietnam, and it's just tough. And he goes, when are you going to work for Marriott? He said, I came from another company and said, someday I think they could have 100 hotels. I said, 100? He said, it's possible. I said, sign me up. So I signed up for Marriott, and I said, but, you know, I'd like to go somewhere other than New Jersey. I want to travel. So he said, you want to go to Houston? He said, I got a buddy opened a hotel in Houston. That was going to be hotel number 12 or something like that. I said, yeah, Houston sounds good. So I get in my car. He gets me a job in Houston, and they put me in housekeeping because I know about cleaning pools. So I'm in housekeeping, and I'm in the employees' cafeteria every day, and with my friends, the engineering department, the housekeeping department, and I'm watching these people. They're kind of well-dressed. They're you know, young men and women coming in, and they weren't there every day. And I said, my friend, I said, what do they do, the ones with the suits? And they said, oh, that's the sales department. I said, what do they do? They said, near as we can figure, nothing. Nothing. They just walk around the hotel and eat a lot of lunch. Nothing. Oh, man, is that a job I should be doing? So I told everybody that would listen, I wanted to be in sales. And my 34 years was sales and marketing, et cetera. And then the fellow who had this job, a fellow named Bill Norman, had 10 years in this job and people before him. We're 75 years old. I'm the 4th CEO. Can you believe it? These folks hang around. I said, well, I'm not. So the headhunter was handling it was someone I worked with when I was 27 years old in L.A. And he calls me up, Dennis calls me up, he said, Roger, he said, I understand you're not interested in that TIA. That was the name of our job. I said, no, why would I want to be an association executive? He said, can we just have dinner? I said, Dennis, you're not talking me into this. He said, no, I haven't seen you in a while. Just, you know, well, second bottle of wine. He said, what if you could change an industry? I said, don't get, you know, just crazy on me. Come on. He said, no. He said, our industry is asleep, and we have to figure out how we can wake up an industry. He said, how much longer are you going to stay at Marriott? And I was lucky. Marriott was good to me. And so I said, when Devin graduates from college, I'll go play golf or something or whatever. He said, why? You'll get sick and you'll die. Why don't you do this? And I did it. And so I said, all right. So I said, I'll do it for 5 years. Well, I haven't been able to get away. It's been 14 years. And I've been doing this because I love it, because I used to just focus on Marriott. That's all I cared about. And now I focus with everybody, get a chance to work with everybody. So that's kind of cool. So the reason I mention that is I was asked to speak at a college graduation of a hotel school at Penn State. And I was speaking to them, and I reflected on that. And I said, you know, and I told that little story. And I said, not one of those things made sense to me at the time. Looking back, it's crystal clear to me how my career was pushed in different directions. It's crystal clear to me that each one of those decisions was an inflection point. And each one of you have inflection points. And the matter is deciding, when that fork in the road, am I going to take it? And begin to think about, what can it do? Because it's easy to look backwards, but looking forward and begin thinking of what is this opportunity versus, and think of, always be looking for those inflection points. As I say, they're not clear at the time. So what I want to talk about and share is what I share with these students is 10 things that your professors, and maybe no one else, ever told you. And so here's what they are. Here's the 10 things that I've observed. There's probably more, but one is learn to speak. Learn to speak. Get out there. Give a speech. Talk. The people who succeed, you know, are people who can get out there, can get up in front of a group. And I know it's scary. I saw a thing in USA Today that said Americans fear snakes, #1, public speaking, #2. And so I don't like snakes either. But the bottom line is get there. And I don't care if it's your church group. I don't care if it's a small community group. But just do it. Just do it over and over. And all of a sudden, you'll get better. When you're giving a speech, it's not, you know, talking this side. It's looking at one person. And when she does like she did, shakes her head, it's the next person. Speaking is a series of one-on-one conversations put together for a group. And they'll say, wow, communicates. Second thing, write. Learn to write. I want you all, there's a company, they should give me a commission. American Stationery. Go to American Stationery and on there and get yourself little note cards. They're about this big. You put your name at the top and they'll print them for you. It's $39, okay? $39. They'll send you 50 or 100 of them, envelopes and the whole thing. And then start sending handwritten notes. When my daughter graduated from college, I gave her ones with her name. I said, when you meet with somebody, send them a note. Thank you. Why? Because I used to get inboxes this big. I now, when I come from a week away, I've got 3 or 4 notes. In a week. 3 or 4, maybe, sitting there to read. Sometimes I put them aside and they sit on my desk for a week. And we live in a world, so write. Listen. Listen. You know, ask someone, what's important to you? Not what's important to me. What's important to you? I used to speak a lot, make a lot of speeches, and I had my speech down, bam, 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 to corporate groups and all that. I speak about ABC. And the Washington speakers would say, so-and-so wants to talk to you about making a speech. Could you talk to them about what you speak about? And they said, what do you speak about, Mr. Dow? I said, ABC. They go, good, okay, well, we're looking at many speakers. You know, hang on to that date. Okay, and we'll get back to you. That didn't go so well. The next one, they come along and someone says, what do you speak about? I said, first, before I even talk about what I'm going to speak about, what's important to you? What are you trying to accomplish? What's this meeting about? They said, oh, we're getting hit with so many things. I said, like what? Like mergers and acquisitions. Companies are coming together. You know, technology is important. Hiring and keeping the best talent. You know, globalism. Oh, I said, well, that's important stuff. I said, just thinking about what you said, I haven't got it fixed in my mind yet, but what if I did ABC? Oh my gosh, book that date now, now. What was different? What was different is I listened and said, how can I meet your needs? Versus, how can you meet my needs and hire me to speak? Next is, who can help me? Look at who can help you. Every one of it, I can reflect on 3 or 4 people in my career. Bill Marriott, a phenomenal person that I try to emulate and follow. I had an Uncle George. Uncle George was a salesman. And Uncle George, he was good friends with the President of the United States through what he did. They'd met, and he was also good friends with the guys at the car wash. You go to the car wash, and Mr. LeBar, D.A. Caliente, I think it means hot day or something like that. But he'd say something, and they love this guy. He didn't care if it was a car wash person or the person, the President of the United States. Think about that, of, who can help me, and folks that might be able to help you, you can emulate. Enjoy what you do. Love what you do. Not just work. If you work, it'll just be a job. Have a purpose. As Todd said earlier, he said, we exist to create a better life for people. A better life. That's something a lot more important than I'm going to sell a few more people to come visit my location or a few more hotel rooms. Second, be the answer, not the problem. You know, so many times it's so easy. I can tell you right now, I just ran through a whole bunch of problems we have right now. No, it's what's the answer? What can we do? What's the solution? Bring a solution. Folks on my team, I love it when they say, hey, we got a challenge here, but here's what we're thinking. And bring an answer. And next thing is take risks. I think it's so important. And risks, I mean, I always equate it, it's like being the end of the diving board. You remember a lifeguard, you know? So you remember you get the end of that high dive, you hit a point, you just can't go back. Momentum. But the bottom line, and then you hit the water, say, hey, let's do it again. But that going off that diving was so scary. And nobody has all the answers. They just kind of happen. If you're doing the right thing, you're talking to people, you're listening and all that. I got news, we're all imposters. Todd wakes up every day knowing that he doesn't know what he's doing, but he just keeps on doing it. I wake up every day. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, but I just keep on doing it. So we're all imposters. So don't take that risk. It's so important. Because fear, when it comes to fear, I heard someone once say that fear is false expectations appearing real. False expectations appearing real. The thing, you all know the time you're up at 2 in the morning, you couldn't sleep, and the next day you get to work and say, what was that all about? And I ask you to go back and tell me 10 of those sleepless nights, what they're about. You can't even remember, but yet what you're so afraid of, you know. And then act as if. I think it's real important to act as if. You know, imagine if I want to be Taj, I want to act as if everything you do. Because people will look, oh man, when you walk into a room, when you talk to people, you're not talking to them as a sales rep. You're talking about you're the, you know, the head of your organization, you know, whatever, and begin act as if, and people will look at that. You know, we limit ourselves. Others don't limit us. So many times we limit ourselves, and but I can't do that. Yeah, you can. And so, you know, act as if. Relationships are everything. You look at relationships are everything. Know people beyond their job, of who they are, not what they do, what they care about, what their kids. My wife, and Todd knows her well, my wife has a phenomenal capability to remember kids. She can remember kids. I don't know, she met you 10 years ago. Oh, how's your daughter? She's taking art lessons or whatever? Phenomenal. People gravitate to her because she remembers their kids, not where they live or what their job is, and so that's important. And people, and the other thing when relationships, you just never know. You just never know who it is that's sitting at the table next to you that might be someone that's going to change everything in your life. Years ago, Gary Oster, who Todd knows, is our head of development, and we're trying to get Wyndham Hotels to sign up, and a guy named Eric Danziger is head of Wyndham Hotels. And we're going to tag team, call him on the phone, tell him how important it was. And I was a dentist, and the dentist ran late, and so I called Gary, and I said, look, I'm going to go to the supermarket across the street and find somewhere to sit and make this call. I can't get back in time to make the call. Eric Danziger gets on the phone, and he said, hey, Raj, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while. He said, what do you need? I said, I need you to be part of U.S. Travel. He said, how much does it cost? I said, $100,000. He said, send me a check, send me an invoice. Gary goes, how the hell did you do that? I said, I did that because that sales call started 24 years ago. 24 years ago, when he was a general manager of a little Sheraton hotel and I was head of marketing for a little company, 24 years ago, that sales call started. And so the relationships are everything. Call people for no reason. Hey, just call and, you know, say this. We used to do something at Marriott called Customer Appreciation Day, and all the senior executives, all the general managers would call up customers. Hi, this is Bill Marriott. I just want to tell you, thanks for your business. And the customer would say, and? He said, just thanks for your business. I appreciate it. Call people, you know, when you don't have a reason. Talk to them when you don't have a reason. They'll appreciate that, not just when you need something. And build partnerships. This whole thing, this whole room exists on partnerships. So it's relationships that are so important. And I guess the final thing would be really care. You can't fake it. Don't fake caring. People smell it a mile away. But really care. People don't care how much you know about them until they know how much you care about them. Let them know, and know what they care about, and care about them, care about their success. And I think it's so important. And from VIPs to hourly workers, and slow down. The world is going so fast. No one has time. Kill it, kill it, kill it, email. Slow down. I've got all the time in the world. What we're talking about is important. Your career, whatever. And people say, you know, he's different. She's different. They care about me. And I think that's so important. Celebrate people, but also be with them in the hard times. People need you in the hard times. Yes, it's nice to hear congratulations on the hard times. I'll give you an example of Margie Osmond is the head of Tourism Australia, and I was with her at WTTC. Wonderful, wonderful woman. We like having folks from Australia come here. I got back, and I got a call from Helen Morano, and she said, Margie got home to Australia, and 2 days later, her husband died. I said, oh, my God. So I wrote her a handwritten note, little card, handwritten note. I said, I've never met your husband. Must have been a great person, you know, to marry you. I said, get that to her as fast as you can. Last night, I got a note from Margie. I can't thank you enough. And, you know, she knows we want her tourism people here, but talking about her in a hard time is so much more important than talking about the good times and what you want. So there's 10 little things that kind of worked for me that, as I've observed, that work for the people that I've tried to emulate. Follow them. And I promise you, you go a lot further. You'll go a lot further, and you're going to have a lot of fun along the way. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oregon, for what you do. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for all the friendships we have here. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for giving Roger what it's truly deserved. We are truly blessed and very lucky to have an individual like Roger Dow at the helm of the U.S. Travel Association. Like I said, they have established themselves now as the industry advocacy association for the travel and tourism industry in Washington, D.C. And you can see, because of the wisdom, the experience, the character of Roger Dow that's brought us there. Roger, thank you so much for being here with us. We've got a couple of things here for you just to say thank you. First of all, I told the story of Jimmy Brooks.
This is Brooks wine. You know, they started with like 25 cases, and now oh, I'm sorry.
You know, we thought the story of Jimmy and how everything is all woven together through what they're emulating from the Oregon wine industry side, and as we talked about from the travel and tourism industry side, that bottle would be somewhat emblematic. And we also know that you really do prefer Oregon Pinots over any of that other swill that comes out of those other states. Hi, Lynn Carpenter, love you. But we also checked with Delisa, your assistant, who then checked with Devin, your daughter, to make sure that the color scheme for this Pendleton blanket does work in your home. So we went to the experts, not to you, to make sure that that all works. So Roger, again, thank you for joining us here. You're a dear friend. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Fun to be back up here, and I got to tell you all the exciting announcements. All right, let me look at my list here. So, first off, if you chose a special meal preference when you registered for the conference, there's a few of you who have not picked up your tickets at registration. So please stop by. The envelopes are out with your name on them, so make sure you pick those up so you have them for the servers at the next few meals. Next, if you picked up a thumb drive at registration, one of the thumb drives has a special bunny document on it, just like that, and you are the big winner. So if you have the bunny document, when you plug this into your computer, go to registration, give them your name, and you will win two nights at Five Pine Lodge and Sisters. So, yay! Thank you, marketing, for doing the thumb drives and the overnight. All right, next we have a break downstairs. We just have some coffee, so you'll have a quick chance to run down there, see exhibitors, grab some coffee. Then we go to the workshops. So all of the workshops are here in this building, just on the back side of this room, except for one. One workshop is across the street in Current. You will not even believe it's the same room as last night. It is the same room as last night for the after party. I know, Scott. It's true. It's really true. That is the International Itinerary Planning. That is across the street. Make sure you walk on the path very safely. Do not cross the road. It's very busy out there. So thank you so much. We'll see you back in this room for lunch.